Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm David Lam, sitting in for Liang Jiang this evening. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. After the church shooting in Orange County that killed 1 and injured 5, residents responded to what motivated the killer. At the same time, the man who died in the incident is being hailed as a hero. A new drug smuggling passage was discovered during a federal drug investigation. Authorities say it stretches from Mexico to San Diego. And a lawsuit about hundreds of millions of dollars spent on masks during the early stages of the pandemic have brought the state controller to center stage. One expert on government transparency explains why. The suspect of the Orange County church shooting has been identified. Local residents say they are shocked by what motivated the shooter. NTD's Jessica Beatty has more.
The shooting suspect is identified as 68-year-old David Cho of Las Vegas. Officials say he's a U.S. citizen who grew up in Taiwan. The sheriff says the motive for the shooting was Cho's hatred toward Taiwan, which was documented in handwritten notes. Cho's notes also suggest he believes Taiwan should be part of China, and he's part of a Las Vegas group that supports unification. Local Asian Americans in Orange County are shocked by the shooting.
There's a lot of Taiwanese Asian people around in Irvine and Laguna Hill. We have never hear anything happen like this.
Hate is gonna causing other hate, and they have to stop.
One young Filipino American says his takeaway is you gotta be a good citizen to other people.
It's just very considerably shocking for something to happen to such a community, especially when violence is not really the norm. Keep being vigilant and just keep being compassionate to other people.
All the victims were of Asian heritage. The FBI said it's opening a hate crime investigation. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
A California district attorney rebuked a judge's order of giving a cop killer a minimum sentence. The DA said that the laws in the state have eroded accountability for violent crimes. Last week, a Sacramento Superior Court judge sentenced 22-year-old Juan Carlos Vasquez Orozco to 15 years in prison for shooting and killing an El Dorado County Sheriff's deputy. Orozco received the minimum sentence after Judge Sharon Lueras struck all of the charges involving gun usage. In response, the El Dorado County District Attorney Vern Pearson wrote that this is the fault of state laws that allow judges discretion to strike enhancements from sentencing decisions. Pearson pointed out that law, Senate Bill 620, in a 3-page statement. He wrote, "It was a rare use of discretion, especially considering the fact that one peace officer was murdered and another was wounded, both by gunfire." While prosecuting the case, Pearson sought the maximum sentence of 40 years to life. His comments on the ruling follow Orozco shooting and killing Sheriff's Deputy Brian Ishmael in October 2019. Deputies responded to a marijuana grow operation where Orozco was both living and working. Orozco ambushed and killed Ishmael before being arrested. Pearson wrote he was very disappointed by the judge's decision. U.S. authorities on Monday announced the discovery of an underground smuggling tunnel through Mexico's border into San Diego. Authorities seized nearly 1 ton of drugs related to the tunnel, while the owner of the house on the Mexican side said he had no idea it existed.
You stay on the rails, it's okay.
Investigators discovered the tunnel last week about half a mile from the Otay Mesa border, crossing between San Diego and Tijuana. More than a dozen other tunnels have been discovered in the past 2 decades in the same area. The passage was discovered on Friday and ran 1/3 of a mile to Tijuana. It was 4 feet in diameter and about 6 stories deep. After staking out at a home that had recently been used as a drug stash house, agents began making traffic stops of vehicles that had been there or at a warehouse near the border, turning up boxes full of cocaine. They raided the properties, finding no other drugs at the San Diego warehouse, but a tunnel opening carved into the cement floor. At the other end of the tunnel in Tijuana, The owner of the property told Reuters he didn't know it existed.
I came back from a stroll and now they aren't letting me into my house. What happened? I wasn't aware of what was going on in my house. It was all very hidden. There are 2 houses.
Jimenez said he hadn't heard any noises from the tunnels.
Nothing. That's why I find it very strange that in 12 years I've never seen any suspicious movement. Nothing.
Like many such tunnels, it had reinforced walls, electricity, ventilation, and a rail system. Agents seized more than 1,700 pounds of cocaine, 165 pounds of meth, and 3.5 pounds of heroin from the vehicles and the residents, and they arrested 6 people on federal drug conspiracy charges. All are Southern California residents. Authorities did not link the latest tunnel to any specific cartels or say how long the passage had been operating, but the Department of Homeland Security is investigating the tunnel. David Lamb, NTD News, California. California lawmakers are requesting a hearing regarding the $600 million no-bid contract for COVID-19 masks 2 years ago. The CEO of a transparent government spending website explains how the state controller is involved.
A civil lawsuit revealed State Controller Betty Yee was involved in the $600 million no-bid contract for COVID-19 masks in 2020. Since the deal was made, leaders have questioned how that deal went through when a startup company called Blue Flame, which supplied the masks, was only a few days old. In an interview with California insider Siamak Khorrami, Adam Andrzejewski, CEO of OpenTheBooks.com, said during the height of the pandemic, Governor Gavin Newsom put out an emergency order for 100 million masks without a bid.
The only problem is he set up the bank account just a few days earlier. So when $457 million hits the account, it triggered all the alarms and the wire was reversed.
2 years later, Yee was discovered to be involved in this. Andrzejewski said there were 150 texts between her and a Republican political operative. Yee encouraged that operative to get the deal and not reveal how much he would make.
So this political operative, he wasn't a mask manufacturer. He was kind of a middleman here. He was going to clean off profits of $134 million. She knew this, and she encouraged him not to tell anybody about how much profit he was going to make.
As the state controller, Andrzejewski said Yee's duty is to curtail fraud and to ensure that taxpayers aren't taken advantage of. But he said it's not that case anymore with many officials.
And we just believed what we learned in the 8th grade in our civics classes, that when people get elected to office, they want to serve the people. And what we have found is it's just not true. They're making deals for the special interest and not the public interest. So now it's time. Now's the time to expose it all. It's a target-rich environment, and we need to follow the money.
Andrzejewski said he and his company auditors have filed 500 requests with the state agency and expects to obtain the line-by-line spending by summer.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. The FBI is probing a Southern California mayor. They allege he is involved in corruption of the sale of a baseball stadium in the area, as well as evading taxes. The mayor of a neighboring city's nomination to become a U.S. ambassador is still in question. It comes after a report was released that he knew about inappropriate behavior of one staff member. And Google has a new campus in Silicon Valley. We'll take a look inside and out and what the tech giant designed for itself. That and more on California Today. A Los Angeles baseball stadium that was supposed to be sold to create affordable housing is getting delayed. The reason? The FBI started a corruption probe into the mayor of the city where the stadium sits.
California Attorney General Rob Bonta announced that the Angels Stadium sale in Anaheim will be delayed for 60 days. The announcement comes as the FBI is investigating Anaheim Mayor Harry Sidhu for public corruption allegations. According to FBI agent Brian Adkins in an affidavit, the FBI learned that the city of Anaheim was tightly controlled by a small cadre of individuals, to include Sidhu, a particular member of the Anaheim Chamber of Commerce, and others. The investigation dates back to 2018. Through the cooperation of a witness and a chamber employee, the FBI learned that Sidhu was involved with fraud and other crimes. Sidhu shared privileged and confidential information with the Angels during stadium sale negotiations, actively concealed the same from grand jury inquiry, and expects to receive campaign contributions as a result. He also attempted to obstruct an Orange County grand jury inquiry into the Angel Stadium deal. In addition, Sidhu registered a helicopter under an Arizona address to avoid California state taxes. An owner pays the tax rate of their aircraft where it is kept, not where the person lives. But in Sidhu's case, there was neither record of his aircraft registered in Arizona nor tax paid. There was also no record of the aircraft being registered in California or payment. Through this, the FBI estimates Sidhu unlawfully avoided paying nearly $16,000 in taxes in California. Adkins believes Sidhu's motives for his actions are to maintain his reputation in Anaheim and ensure his re-election in November 2022.
The mayor of Los Angeles' nomination to serve as U.S. ambassador to India remains in limbo in the Senate. The delays come after he received criticism for allegedly knowing about inappropriate behavior of a high-ranking member of his staff.
Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti's nomination to serve as U.S. ambassador to India remains uncertain after being stalled in the Senate. Though the Senate Foreign Relations Committee confirmed Garcetti's nomination in January, a hold on the confirmation vote was finally lifted last week. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley lifted the hold after publishing an investigation that Garcetti likely knew about improper behavior from his former Deputy Chief of Staff, Rick Jacobs. According to the report, Garcetti knew that Jacobs had sexually harassed multiple individuals and made racist and derogatory comments towards others. Garcetti said in December that he wasn't aware of Jacobs' alleged actions and that, if he had been, he would have stepped in. The Biden administration nominated Garcetti for the role in July 2021. A White House spokesperson said Garcetti called Grassley's report a partisan hit job. Taylor Foy, a spokesperson for Grassley's office, told the Epoch Times that he hopes the White House isn't suggesting that taking seriously claims of sexual harassment and racist remarks is a partisan issue. Foy added that we received multiple whistleblower complaints, including people who work to advance the mayor's political agenda, people who presumably are not Republicans. Garcetti was elected mayor in 2013 and his term will end in December.
Some have been questioning a new energy company's financial feasibility that's powering Orange County. After the agency lost $3 million, they said their recent loss is normal for similar energy programs. They said it takes time for revenue to come in later.
The Orange County Power Authority said their recently reported $3 million operating loss is typical for similar energy programs. Launched in late 2020, the OCPA is the latest community choice aggregation program announced in California.
We're pleased to report that the final set of the eligible customers, commercial customers, have now been enrolled in OCPA. The first customer revenue for our accounts in the earlier billing cycle has been received, and this validates our AR process cycle.
The goal is to provide greener power to residents and businesses, potentially over 800,000 customers at full launch. A spokesperson for OCPA told the Epoch Times every community choice aggregator has reported net losses for periods prior to the start of their operations. It takes time for revenue to come in later when they start pumping electricity into homes and businesses. During public comments at a May board meeting, some residents from Irvine called in concerned with OCPA's financial health.
Many of us Irvine residents are concerned about the rate that OCPA has been burning through the money borrowed from the city of Irvine. And more generally, a lot of folks are concerned about the management and financial stability of OCPA.
Another resident questioned the transparency of the reports from a recent financial audit.
The accountant stated that they are not independent and that the management at the OCPA quote, elected to omit substantially all of the note disclosure requirements. So, end quote. So how can their report be reliable? I guess I'm wondering.
So far, the pre-launch operation costs include payments to the Resource Adequacy Program. It is a policy framework to help ensure the reliability of electric service in the state. Other major costs come from operating overheads. As a new purchaser and seller of electricity, the OCPA is composed of 4 cities. The customers came from another electricity supplier, Southern California Edison.
After nearly 5 years of construction, Google is officially opening a new campus. It's the first one built from the ground up by Google. Let's take an inside look.
Google is opening a new Silicon Valley campus named Bayview.
The Bayview and Charleston East campus together are the first buildings that we're doing completely ourselves from the ground up. So it's really, we wanted to rethink what is the nature of a workplace? How can we make buildings and structures and places that people will love and use for decades?
Google announced Bayview's opening on Tuesday, and the Charleston East project is set to open next year. Located in Mountain View, Bayview sits on 42 acres of land adjacent to NASA's Ames Research Center.
It's 1.1 million square feet in total of 3 buildings, 2 which are office buildings, and the third one is an event center. And we're going to have around 4,000 employees who will be working here in our new hybrid ways of working.
Kaufman said much of the design was driven by figuring out what Google employees needed to do their best work.
Our 3 big goals with it were to help Googlers be productive, connected with high levels of well-being. So that's really what drove the interior design.
The building has 2 floors, but it creates 2 distinct environments.
The bottom level, the ground level, is like a vibrant marketplace. It's where a lot of the meeting rooms are, the cafes, the fitness. And the upper level is more quiet. It's where teams are, where they can be with their immediate teams of 6 to 8 people, but also feel connected to their overall community.
Officials said sustainability was key to the campus.
That has long span in between the columns, having high ceilings, having double height space in areas, having exposed structure that has beauty to it, and having natural light accessed to all of the spaces.
On top of each of the buildings is a vast array of overlapping solar panels.
With this building, we came up with this thing we're calling dragon scale solar panels, which produces energy, but looks like this beautiful metal roof. It looks sculpted. It almost looks like a metal fabric, like thrown in the wind that then fell down.
Google said these solar panels, coupled with nearby wind farms, power the building 90% of the time. The roof also collects rainwater and directs it to campus ponds. The same water also serves as a water source for flushing toilets and landscape irrigation. Members of Google's advertising team have already begun moving onto the Bayview campus, with more set to join in the coming weeks.
Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you your California Today Sports Roundup.
The stage now belongs to Colton Herta. The young American driver who, through both patience and persistence, has forced his way into international conversation. Herta effortlessly navigated his way through 3 days embedded with McLaren at Formula One's Miami Grand Prix, where he got an invitation-only close-up of his upcoming opportunities. He will test for McLaren at some point this season, and Herta just might be the one to end the 7-year drought of an American driver on the F1 grid. He still has his current job, of course, and on Saturday picked up his first win of the IndyCar season with an entertaining drive through the rain on the road course inside Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now it's time for the main event, the Indy 500, a race that really could fast-track Herta's hopes of landing an F1 seat. Indianapolis Motor Speedway opens Tuesday for practice and the build-up to the greatest spectacle in racing on May 29. Herta chased his F1 dreams early in his career when he moved to England alone as a teenager and tried to work his way through the ladder system. His path stalled and he returned to the United States ahead of the 2017 season. Now he's the star driver at Andretti Autosport, seeking a career-changing Indy 500 victory. F1 has gained massive traction in North America, and American companies have been lining up to join the action. As Herta tries to leapfrog Dalton Sargent and Jack Crawford as F1's next American, he can use the Indy 500 to attract the sponsorship that could get him into the Global Series sooner rather than later. Alexander Rossi, Herta's current teammate at Andretti, was the last American driver to start an F1 race in 2015. Herta was spectacular at Indy in the rain on Saturday, and the in-car camera angles of the 22-year-old California manhandling his steering wheel and saving a slide on the wet track from a disastrous spin were breathtaking. But the 500 is an entirely different beast, which Herta learned firsthand last year with a strong lead up to race day. He qualified second, started on the front row, and led 13 laps before strategy backfired, and he faded to a disappointing 16th place finish. The field this year is as competitive as ever, and headlined by defending Indy 500 winner Helio Castroneves, who will seek a record 5th victory. Will Power has quietly put together one of the best season starts of his career as well, and although he is the only Team Penske driver without a win through 5 races this season, he's yet to finish lower than 4th and moved into the IndyCar points lead over the weekend. Reigning champion Alex Palou finished runner-up to Castroneves in the 500 a year ago and was fixated on what he did wrong to lose the race. Juan Pablo Montoya returns for a second consecutive season as he tries to win the Indy 500 for a 3rd time, and he's again teamed with Aero McLaren SP and Pato O'Ward. Popular young Mexican driver Herta is trying to beat to F1. O'Ward tested for McLaren in December in Abu Dhabi, but when McLaren offered Herta and O'Ward identical testing contracts for 2022, only Herta signed immediately. O'Ward has since agreed on principle to a contract extension with McLaren. It is not clear if he will test in F1 this year. Herta, O'Ward, Palou, and Rinus VeeKay were the 4 fresh IndyCar faces last May, as all 4 had won races ahead of the 500 in a rapidly changing youth movement in the series. The series has since added rookies Kyle Kirkwood, the Indy Lights champion, and Callum Ilott and Christian Lundgaard have moved to IndyCar from F1 feeder series. Thanks for tuning in to the California Today Sports Roundup.
And that's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for a show, or you just want to let us know how we're doing, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lamb. Have a wonderful evening.